And in the background, intermittently there, you'll see Sam's 1973 Oldsmobile Classic that has appeared in all of his movies, except for obviously The Quick and the Dead. But I've shipped that car around the country. It's been dropped in multiple stories in Army of Darkness, and it always keeps popping up. It's definitely got 9 lives or more.
When am I going to do a movie without that car?
That car?
I felt like Sam was going to, I felt like they're going to, if he could have, he would have shipped it over to Seabiscuit to torture me with it.
That car's coming back in the third one. Yeah, it's been in all the pictures, but if you're interested in purchasing the Delta 88 Classic, send $10,000 to Sam Raimi, care of Columbia Pictures, Culver City. No, I'm not really.
Is that your car, or is it the movie's car?
That's my car. Although I have movie versions of it, stunt versions that exist.
Right.
Because Bruce Campbell so hates the car.
Right.
He's vowed to destroy it. So I have doubles around in case he ever gets his hands on one of them. He doesn't.
It would be great if that was not an empty threat. It'd be great if he actually did something to your car.
Oh, it'd be terrible. Are you kidding me? I've keeping it hidden. No one really knows where it is. I've sent him through the windshield of that car. That car has run over his arm in movies. It's he's had enough of that car. It's caused him a lot of damage.
And he warned me about you early on before the first picture.
What did he say?
He said Sam likes to torture actors.
I do like to torture actors.
I know. I've worked with you in 2 movies.
Dan Sweetman helped me board this scene.
This is great. And very funny. Now, so many people have asked me if this right here... Oh, well, first of all, this stunt guy took the biggest hit. That's so painful.
What was so funny and a little disconcerting was I had this team of great stuntmen.
Yes.
They worked with us throughout the course of the picture.
Yeah.
When it came to this stunt, they brought in some new kid.
Yeah.
Here you go, kid. I said, well, how come it's not one of you guys? You'll find out.
I know. Well, I'm glad it wasn't even on the board for me to try that one. That's not something I wanted to do. And
I like that guy really threw everything he's got into that.
Amazing.
That
and let me ask you about that, the joke there. I'm back, my back. Because so many people have said, is this an inside joke? And I said, initially, when written, I don't think it was intended to be.
Right.
But then we were all aware of it. And I said, well, however you take it, I think it's funny either way, whether you just, watching it, not thinking about it, or if you think it's an inside joke, whatever.
That's exactly what happened, yeah.
Yeah. But I think
I thought it was brave of you to go for it, too. Because people knew that you had a back problem earlier, and although on the mend, still, I thought it was brave of you to poke fun at yourself, even for those people few people that knew about that.
Yeah.
So I agree with you. It wasn't planned, and I said, that's great, it's so funny, I'm back, my back. And then I thought, no, we better not because of Tobey's real back problem. He won't want to. But then I said, well, maybe I'll just ask him, and I'm so glad you went for it.
Yeah, well, it's funny. Why not?
Every time I look at the shot, it's hard to believe that the car is not real.
John Fraser and his team did a lot of research and a lot of testing, because there are quite a few moments in this scene where the car is real. And once again, as with the stunts, it's with the mechanical effects, it's always safety first. It's part math, it's part science, and it's just...
Yeah, you have to catapult the car.
So they would go out into the...
You really have to flip it, high strengths to get going. But as you notice, in between discussing technical issues or CGI, so much of this movie is about the actors, right on camera. What you see is real. What you see is what you get. There's no trick-or-treat here.
Right here we've got blue screen car going through, and then it's more or less a plate that was shot similar to the fire sequence, and then we would shoot Peter and MJ and marry the two together, and then back here we're live with everything.
You were a sport to let me yank you across that cafeteria. I know it wasn't easy.
I'll tell you, you learn to just go for these things, because a couple times we do it where we do it half speed, 3/4 speed, full speed, and when you get to it, it's like, you know what, just yank me faster and harder, because that's what it's going to take for it to look good anyway, so you're just like, let's go right for it, just like ratchet it up as hard and fast, and I'm going to throw myself, and
I wish more people knew that. I think it just takes experience to realize that's the best way to go for it.
Because otherwise you just got to do it 800 times and it's never satisfying. And ultimately when you go, the great experience is you do it a couple times, you go watch the movie and you go, I wish I had just given 10% more.
That's what I'm always thinking about, the things I do.
Exactly.
Do you remember we reshot this close-up? And it wasn't for performance. I just didn't have the right size on you. I needed to be closer.
I remember that.
It was an embarrassing request I made. I said, I just shot it wrong. It's this one. You know, you're actually behind there in the plate. This is actually the take of you coming forward. I just matted you over yourself.
Wow.
But you're a little smaller in frame.
Filmmaking. That's one of the reasons I love being an actor, because you go and you shoot it and you're not thinking about, while you're sitting back there like plotting the whole thing out and envisioning it and putting it together, I'm just experiencing it. I'm just going and doing it, experiencing it. So I get two joys. I get the joy of doing it, because I have fun working and I love the working experience. And then I go watch the film and it's a surprise to me. It's like a whole new thing. To you, you know, you're watching it the whole time. You're in the editing room. You see the movie 470 times. I go in the theater and see the movie for the first time all over again. It's like a brand new experience.
How cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love it.
I'm always nervous when you're looping. And with some of the other actors too, Kirsten, Rosemary, I want them to really like, I don't want to be complimented or anything, but I don't want them to be disappointed with what they're seeing in the those little snippets of what you loop.
Well, it's been good so far for me, Sam.
One of the early things I did when working on Spider-Man 1 was come up with a pose book for Sam and everybody to reference, because, you know, the drawings that the Marvel artists have done over the years are just amazing. And we always wanted to recapture that, both with the stuntmen and with CG Spider-Man. I have a book on my desk. It's about 2 inches thick of pose after pose that Sam likes or Avi likes or other people like, to just portray the strength of Spidey and his grace at the same time.
This was a kind of an incredible combination of stage and CG.
Once again, for the clock tower here, we're on the Sony Stage 27, and then below, this is all actually, that's all CG City. Those aren't plates, except in the background a little bit there are some plates, and it's just another marrying of the two together.
Here's what we're talking about again with Spider-Man and his unique, this unique character, and using him for this fight on the train. I mean, I thought this was brilliant, because you're going all over, on top, around, through the train for this fight. And you couldn't really have that with any other characters. And this is, I mean, one of the best action sequences I've ever seen, really.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that I really didn't have much to do with putting it together, So I just think it's great, and I think this is a real. To look at the first movie and this movie, I can just see you going, okay, I'm gonna up the ante so much. I know you just let your imagination fly on this movie.
Well, I had so much help with this sequence. Like everything in this picture, it's made by 1,000 people.
Even that little detail right there was so cool, where Spider-Man pops out, shoots the webbing to hold himself on the train.
That is cool. I really like that
cool.
too.
And that move, I mean,
Jeff Lynch came up with that move, that particular one.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
I saw that. He came up with it on his own. I went, that's so cool.
What about where the train just passed and he did that little where he's flat against the train, the other train passed?
That was boarded originally by Steve Markowski, who really, really helped me with this train
That
sequence.
was great.
He's a genius.
What about the sliding on the ground and this catching back up to the train? All that was
I just wanted to drag you. For some reason, nobody liked that, but I really liked it.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
They gave me a lot of flack about that, but I really wanted to do that.
Oh, they're wrong.
That poor girl.
Oh, just so cool, man. This is such a great sequence.
The toughest part was that we didn't have a script yet. We had to board this and shoot this because there were so many effects that unless we started immediately, we would never have time to. We couldn't wait for the script.
When did you shoot this stuff? In November or December or something?
That's right. It was November of 2003. Is that right? Or 2002.
2002, Sam.
Yeah, November 2002.
Oh my Lord, 2002.
Yeah, the movie was just showing still. It's just coming out on DVD. disappeared. A lot of great CG artists worked on this sequence, along with Bob Murawski and Jodie Fidel.
But this sequence is just a huge technical undertaking and a huge accomplishment, both on the mechanical effects side and with building this train that rocked on the stages here at Sony, incorporating it with the Chicago plates, and merging that with John Dykstra's visual effect work. I mean, you're in the moment, so you don't really have the time to dissect it, but this is a big one. This is huge.
That's probably, to date, one of the most exciting action scenes in movie history.
And I've heard you say the pier in this scene were the toughest scenes or sequences to shoot. This was the toughest to me because it just felt like we shot this scene forever. It just never stopped, I thought.
And it's all blue. It's all just, I would imagine, it'd be a very hard scene to perform in.
Well, the only reason it's really tough is because each shot, you're only in a shot for like a couple seconds or, maybe 3-4 seconds at the most. So this is an example of where I'm not even sure in what order things are going to be sometimes. And you're just telling me, okay, do this, do that, or this is where we're at here. Or...
I know. It's really hard, I imagine, to get into a moment in this giant puzzle, and you've got to be this particular piece of this collage, and you've got to be on the money for that moment. I can't imagine how you do that. It's easier for me because I've got it all plotted out, but I don't have to jump into the emotional moment of it and deliver it on the spot.
Well, and I don't know how easy, maybe easier for you, but it seemed very complicated.
It's good to have you back, Spider-Man.
Your brothers delivered a beautiful performance in this picture.
Yes, they were really good. And
I remember you just said to me, hey, Sam, my brothers are here. Can you put them in the picture? And I said, absolutely, I could use them right now. I gave your brothers lines, and they changed them just like you. I guess they've been hanging around you a long time now. And they changed them just right.
That's right. I remember that because you gave them a line, and they just said it differently.
Yeah.
Must be in the blood. Weston is the little one, and Joe Paul is the bigger one.
This was, because it was the last sequence in the movie, I never really had time to figure it out. We were scrambling.
We were scrambling, and it turned out very good. Stunts and effects and how to put it all together. But I think it really worked out.
I like that she takes action, and I also like that there's no way this girl could have anything to do with Doc. He doesn't even have to turn around to deal with her.
I think, Kirsten, I remember overhearing your guys' conversation about it and her wanting to be more active there.
I think she was right.
Yeah, that was great, I thought. I wasn't sure about it when you guys were talking about it. I was like, well, that's a little silly. But I thought it turned out great, So there you go.
I think the key to it was that she was right. She should be active.
Yeah.
And risk something. And yet we didn't want to belittle this powerful supervillain or Spider-Man to say that she could ever really have any effect. So I think the way Fred performed it made it.
How did you do that with those cars and stuff?
These 3 shots were shot by Dan Bradley, and he had mechanical effects department hook up 16 cars on these tremendous ratchet motors, and they just pulled them.
Wow.
Some of it was CG, like the light post breaking loose.
Right.
And wind fans were sending papers across.
Spider-Man taking off the mask is really, in a way, it's the essence of why we pick villains that are connected to the hero. We felt this was time for Peter, who admires this man in spite of all what's going on. If he takes off the mask, he can say, Dr. Octavius, let me remind you who you are. Don't let these tentacles make you into something that you don't want to be. So that was a valuable moment to have. Instead of just more fighting and just hold him, it just all of a sudden appealed to the man inside.
And I'm glad that you and me took the high road here. I think there was some opposition to this idea, but I like very much that Peter, one, doesn't slay the villain. I don't think that's the answer to anything is violence, really. Mm-hmm. And two, I like that you are a hero because you awaken the goodness in others. And that's the effect I think your performance in the movie has on people when it's working. They feel empowered to do the right thing.
Well, I think as well, even though, I know that some people wanted to see Spider-Man save the day or solve the problem himself. be the superhero. I think the unique thing about Spider-Man as a superhero is he's a thinking man superhero, and he uses his intellect a lot of times, and in this case, to reach Doc Ock and for Doc Ock to be a hero himself in this moment and remember who he is, you know, deep down, and take control of these arms and right his wrongs. And it also gives Alfred a more interesting villain to play, I think. Here's a beautiful moment here. Always followed by some tragedy.
This shot gives me the willies when I see that wall fall toward her. That big wide one was effective.
This is really heavy.
Did this get a reaction?
Huge laugh there. This is really heavy.
Good.
Huge laugh.
Was there a little laugh on high?
Yes. A nice laugh there, and then this is really heavy.
You really delivered that good that night.
It was fun. I love that scene. I always did. Very well written, and
Michael Chabon came up with this scene.
oh, it's great. Ooh, does it get juicy now?
What do you think the people are thinking in the theaters here? Are they just quiet at this moment?
Well, they're starting to get it, you know.
Yeah.
Obviously, fans of Spider-Man know that he follows in his father's footsteps, and people are definitely speculating that he's going to come back for the third movie as a villain. Of course, I don't know.
No, and plus, it might be that now that he finds out who his father is, the Green Goblin, he may understand why he was killed by Spider-Man, and he may decide to turn over a new leaf and not become the Goblin, to rise above the sins of his father.
That sounds a little misleading to me.
It didn't work, huh?
No, actually, that's very logical. That is very logical. It'll be interesting. This definitely sets up where I am extremely curious to see what happens further with Harry's character. I mean, I thought his arc was great here, and now I want to see the resolve of what happens to him. I'm dying to see the next scene. There's the movie. That's it.
Thank you for joining us.
I'm so excited to see what happens next, Sam. That's all I got to say.
I hope you like it.
I hope so, too.
Thank you.